I'm Elizabeth at A Literary Princess. If you are new here, welcome. I'm a 6-year PhD candidate in English literature with a focus on Victorian women novelists. And as you might expect, I love to read. Today I have what I read for Picture This 2025. Picture This is an event hosted by Shelley Swearingen and Jack from Spreadbook Joy, and it's all about reading picture books in the month of April. I love this event. I just find it so relaxing. What I do is usually I get a few picture books from thrift books, and then I spend 1 or 2 days reading them. That's what I did this time. I read 5 books. There are 6 prompts. They're each one word. We will, I'll list them now and then I'll mention them when I get to them. But they are all based around Alice from Alice and the Giant Bookshelf, who sadly passed away. So the prompts are Alice, cats, mystery, giant, dark, and blue. There's also an extra challenge of doing an illustrator deep dive. I read 3 books by the same illustrator, and I don't know if that counts as a deep dive, but I'm gonna say that it is. So, as I said, I read 5 books. Let's jump in. So first are the 3 by the same illustrator, and that is my favorite illustrator, Trina Schardt-Hyman. I have read one of her books for the past 2 years. Last year I think I read The Sleeping Beauty, and the year before I reread Snow White, which is my favorite of hers. So this year I started with Little Red Riding Hood, which is both retold by her and illustrated by her. And it is a Caldecott Honor book. I love her illustrations. They are so rich in detail and like, it's just so gorgeous. I love the use of the bordering around the words that's on every page, and there's all these little details in each of them. I love that she doesn't shy away from the darker parts of the fairy tale. I would say this one is not as dark as like Snow White was. That one's dark. Oh my god. However, like it still is pretty like dark. Also, like here, the woodcutter is walking away with the wolf skin. Like, so I appreciate that she doesn't shy away from illustrating the darker moments of the fairy tales, which a lot of illustrators do to keep them more child friendly. Not that I wouldn't say this isn't child friendly, it totally is. But, so I guess you could say that this counts for the prompt of dark by just having dark subject matter and having some kind of darker illustrations. But I actually have a better book for the dark prompt coming up. One of my favorite things about this book, though, is that this cat, you can trace him on every page. Like, he's following Little Red. Actually, there's 2 cats because Grandmama has a cat. And then Little Red has a cat. Right here. So that obviously counts for the prompt of cats. This was a 5-star from me. Love Trina Schardt-Hyman's work. The next one is also illustrated by her, but it is written by Margaret Hodges. This is St. George and the Dragon, which is an adaptation of a part of Edmund Spenser's The Fairy Queen. And this is a Caldecott winner. And with good reason. This book is freaking gorgeous. Oh my gosh. I mean, you can tell from just from the cover. Her illustrations are just so rich. I cannot. So I'm gonna say that the dragon counts for the prompt of giant because he definitely is very large. See, he doesn't shy away from the darker aspects. Like, my guy looks like he's dead here. oh, I mean, just her illustrations are just so good. I would say this also counts for the prompt of blue. There's a lot of blue sky in this one, and the dragon has some blue in him too, actually, in his wings and in his face. This was my favorite of everything that I read. And actually, this was one of my husband's favorite books when he was a kid. I had never read it as a kid, but he saw the cover. He was like, oh my God, I used to read that all the time. I was like, oh, cute. But yeah, I highly recommend this. Like, if you're looking for a good picture book, holy crap, this is so good. And I just recommend Trina Schertheimer in general because she is amazing. So yeah, obviously this was 5 stars. And then the third and final book illustrated by Trina Schertheimer that I read was Swan Lake. Unfortunately, this did not come with the dust jacket, but luckily there is a pretty lettering on the cover. So this one is told by Margot Fontaine. Obviously it is a retelling of the ballet. I still love her illustrations in this one, but I don't know, I don't like them quite as much as some of her other ones. However, like, oh, look at this. Oh, that is gorgeous. Stunning. And then the Swan Queen. What I really like is that in every picture of the Swan Queen, her feet are pointed as if she's doing ballet. Now she's barefoot, so obviously she's not actually on point, but she is up on her toes always, and she's frequently in like a kind of ballet position, as you can see here. So again, up on her toes, and then over here she's in a ballet position. Third or fourth, maybe? I don't do ballet, but I do love ballet. So like I said, I did like this a lot, but it was not my favorite of hers. I actually wanted more illustrations of the Swan Queen, I guess, because there's really only the 2 full-page pictures of her. I mean, there's some where she's like a lot smaller in the picture, like here. But I just really I wanted more like that. Although there's like a super scary. So if you know the story of Swan Lake, the Swan Queen Odette has been cursed by Rothbart, the sorcerer, to be a swan during the day, and she only turns into a human at night at the lake. Prince Siegfried says that he's going to marry her, that he's going to love her, but the thing is he has to vow to love only her. So Rothbart brings his daughter Odile, disguised as Odette, to the prince's ball where he's supposed to be choosing a bride. And he swears his love to the fake one. And so that obviously screws things up. But then look at this scary thing. Oh my God. Nightmare fuel. Nightmare fuel. So scary. I guess that can count for dark too. So I did really like it, just not as much as the other one. So I gave this 4 stars. The next book counts for 2 prompts, and those prompts are dark again and cats again. This is Ghost Cat, written by Eve Bunting and illustrated by Kevin M. Barry. This is about a cat named Sailor Boy who lives in a lighthouse with his human, Miss Maggie. And they take care of the lighthouse together. I'm obsessed. I am absolutely obsessed. But obviously, since this is about a lighthouse, we are lighting up the dark. Again, lighting up the dark, and even the words, hallelujah, she lights the wick and the great beacon comes to life, cutting through the dark night and shining out its warning beam. I think this art style is so cute, and also I'm obsessed with the cat, like, Sailor Boy. He's so cute. Look at him. Oh my God. I love him. I gave this 4 stars as well. I really enjoyed it. It's super sweet, and I want a stuffed animal of him because he's so cute. Final one that I read is another fairy tale. This is The Wild Swans, which is a Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale, retold here by Amy Ehrlich and illustrated by Susan Jeffers. I have never seen an illustrated version of this, like, out in the wild, but it is really gorgeous. Again, we've got blue waves, blue sky. Her artwork is just really interesting. Very, I don't know, just very, very fairy tale-esque, very kind of medieval. Very light colors. More blue. Oh, and this. Oh, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. So I really liked this one as well. I gave this one 4 stars. I love finding illustrated fairy tales, especially ones that I don't see very often. Like, you can always find a version of Snow White or Little Red Riding Hood or Cinderella. Like, there are 50 bajillion of them, but like the Wild Swans, there aren't a whole lot of those. I can't think of any other illustrated Swan Lake that I've ever seen either. Technically that's a ballet, not a fairy tale, but it's very fairy tale-esque. So yeah, I like finding ones that don't really often have illustrated picture books because it's just like, it's unique. Last year or the year before, I read a version of The Goose Girl and a version of Many Furs, and those were the first times I'd ever seen either of those illustrated too. So yeah, this was 4 stars. I'm really glad that I have it. I do kind of collect illustrated fairy tales, so I like adding to my collection. So those are the 5 books that I read for Picture This, and I got 4 of the prompts: blue, dark, giant, and cats. Nothing for Alice and nothing for Mystery, unfortunately, but that's okay. Thank you so much to Shelley and Jack for hosting this. I love this event so much. It's just so delightful and, like, I don't know, and like joyful, you know? There is such a joy in reading picture books. And thank you both for giving me that opportunity this month to take some time and have that joy. So, were you participating in Picture This? What did you read for it? What are some of your favorite picture books? If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to see more of my bookish content. It has been great chatting with you. I will see you soon. Bye.